afternoon and a very warm welcome from the Orkney Islands, north of Scotland. My name is Rona Harcus. I'm Practice Education Lead for the AHPs, and 3 days a week I'm actually the occupational therapist as well. This is Mary. Do you want to introduce yourself, Mary?
Yeah. Hi, so my name's Mary and I recently completed my return to practice here in Orkney. I was working before I started having my family. I worked down in the south of England in a specialised stroke rehabilitation ward. And then after my first child was one, I decided to stop altogether and have a short career break, which turned into a long career break as I had a second child, and we emigrated to Australia for a while. And before I knew it, I was 11 or 12 years out of practice, and had been telling myself for quite a time that that it was just too late. I thought I'd spent too long out, and in fact I threw out all of my physio stuff from uni, I threw out all of my books. I was working as a teaching assistant and loving it, but then I had a day maybe about a year and a half ago where I suddenly had this little sort of inkling that I wanted to come back again, and started to just wonder whether it was possible. So
that must have been quite a daunting prospect. How did you start on this journey, Mary?
So first of all was getting over the kind of fear really of thinking I'd left it too late, and just sort of thinking, no, this is something I'll regret not doing if I don't ever do it. And then I went straight to Google, which is what we all do nowadays, and I just Googled return to practice physiotherapist, and very quickly it led me to obviously the HCPC website. And so what I did there was there's a PDF there that sets out very, very clearly what the requirements are. So I started to just look at how I could meet all those requirements. One of the things I saw that I was obviously going to need was contact with my local physio department to get some experience. So I contacted them, and they very kindly put me in touch with our practice education lead, who is Lynn Spence, or one of them is Lynn Spence. And she very enthusiastically took me on as a project, I think, and started to come up with great ideas on how she could help me to get back into practice again. So we took it from there.
Yeah. So what was involved in that process? Was it a period of shadowing or studying?
Yeah, there's a lot of sort of information online, but basically because I was more than 5 years out of practice, I had to do 60 days. Which on the HCPC website they do say a day is 7 hours. So because I wanted to spread it over the full year part-time, I decided just to think of that as 420 hours, and I just started to accrue that time. The HCPC mentioned that there's 3 sort of possible ways of achieving that. One of them is private study, which is obviously just doing your own study in your own time. One of them is formal study, so doing courses that you get certificates for, assessments, that kind of thing. And the other is supervised practice, so actually getting out into the clinical sort of arena, I guess, and showing your competency there. So for the private study side of things, I obviously did a lot of studying. One of the really helpful things that the practice education lead had suggested at that point was spending some time shadowing, and so what that was really, that's considered private study rather than your supervised practice, because I wasn't practicing. I got a chance to shadow physios from all the different specialities we have here in Orkney. I got to shadow occupational therapists, the MS specialist nurse, community nursing, podiatrists, and basically over a few months, for a couple of mornings a week, I just spent time with these clinicians. What was really good about that was it gave me just a foot back into NHS, into healthcare, having been in education, seeing how things had changed over that 10 years, because a lot's the same, but a lot has actually changed. And also networking. In a small community here, I met a lot of really critical people in that time where I connected with, and that was really, really helpful from then on. But the other thing I think as well was, it was a real springboard for my personal study. So if I was, say, with the podiatrist and they were treating a specific condition, I would then go home and think, right, there's something I can study, because I think starting with, right, where do you begin? There's a lot that you could start with studying, so it was a real good sort of springboard for that, and a non-threatening sort of way to get back in, your head back into that space. So.
And being in a remote and rural area like Orkney,
yeah.
for those who don't know where Orkney is, it's a small island off the north of Scotland. There's only 20,000 people living in Orkney. How was the kind of private study? I mean, we're not able to access this course like many people in the mainland. I mean, was that quite a challenge for you?
The private study was okay, and I actually managed to get access to quite a lot of articles and things online. I mean, nowadays, if I'd done this 10 or 15 years ago, it'd be different. Nowadays you can get access to really up-to-date articles and things. With the formal study, the courses and things, as you say, being remote, it makes it difficult. I think if we were living south, I could have, actually attended courses, and that would have been fabulous. Here, it's time consuming and very costly, and it is limiting. However, again, this day and age, being able to go onto the onto the internet and find, like, there's a website called Coursera, and I did a physiology course on that, which was like 9 modules and took me quite a few months. Each one was an assessment, and then I got a certificate at the end to say I'd done so many hours and had passed. You get a percentage and everything. So doing these online kind of formal courses was a real gift. Living somewhere like this, yeah, for sure.
Have you got any top tips for anybody else who's into practice, or for sort of practical education leads out there?
Yeah, I think the best thing that I did, and this was the practice education leads idea, was the shadowing period, because I think it can be very daunting coming back to a profession you've not done for quite a while, and because I was in a different area from where I was working prior to stopping. That time of shadowing was a real gift. It was brilliant. I would recommend it to anybody actually to do that. As I say, it doesn't count as your supervised practice. It is counted as your personal study, but if I was doing it again, that would be one of my top tips, I guess, would be that.
And Mary, you've obviously got your physiotherapy tunic on, so has it been a successful journey?
It has been a successful journey. There's a lot of paperwork to fill out at the end. You have to, that's the other top tip I would say as well, actually, is keep up to date on writing down all of the activities you've done, because at the end you need to compile that all in forms that you get again downloaded onto the HCPC. So keep up to date with documenting what you've done, so you're not, and I did do that. But yes, it's been a success. Actually, when I was on my last placement here in the hospital, one of the physios I was working with announced she was pregnant, so I immediately thought, aha, this is quite good timing, and applied for her maternity post, and that's what I'm now doing. So happy end to the story.
It's been a great journey.
Yeah, it has.
And thank you for sharing, and thank you for inviting us to share our story as well. We hope you've enjoyed it.